a storefront, maybe 3 apartments on top, maybe you buy a block of them, right? So you'll have some existing zoning that's kind of low density for the site. Then you'll put in your application, you'll do all these studies, and you'll put all these applications to see if you can get a higher density for the site. And even once you've got the feasible, like you've had the discussion and everybody says, yes, this is supportable by the city, you still have to do a year or 2 of planning reports, studies, just to justify your report to the city. And traditionally that's taken a long time. I'm hearing now, though, the city of Toronto in particular is actually moving quite quickly. I heard somebody get that through this process in 8 months. It could take up to 3, 4, 5, 10 years in some cases, depending on what you're building, to get it through. But I've literally heard, I was at lunch with a developer and they said, yeah, we just got something through in 8 months after submitting the full report. So that's incredible. That's a big change. Hopefully that keeps going. But that's for an infill site. Other sites like Greenfield, well, that's like building a new town in a way, right? So those ones take traditionally 3 to 5 years. We recently had a process where the province was going through this MZO, which is almost like it's a ministerial zoning order, which essentially says the province has said, you know, I know you normally go to the municipality, then the region, and once those 2 guys sign off, then you send it to the province. And that's why it would take so long, because you would do all this upfront work. Again, goes risk back to the builder, which they're willing to take if they see the huge upside, but that's years and years of owning the land or having it tied up with a vendor take-back mortgage, putting in all that planning work, which could cost you $1 million or more, right? And time, like a couple years of time to do it. Or what they now did is they've tried to de-risk it by saying, no, we want this zoning. We've got a ministerial zoning order. So fill in the blanks, but you have this zoning. So that way you can go through all the process as a builder, knowing that there's no risk, that you have this zoning and it's worth what it's worth. Aside from the fact that the market prices have adjusted, and that's basically based on the end unit prices. That process actually makes more sense to me from a risk reward point of view. Unfortunately, it's been getting battered around with like normal political football, and some people were perceived to be getting favorable treatment. So like anything, it's not perfect, but the concept, just because it may not have been implemented right, I think it's still a good concept. Hopefully people will see through the politics of it, and possibly there is something wrong in the way it was delivered, but the concept is, I think, correct. Many municipalities across Ontario, even though they can access Infrastructure Ontario, which I used to work there, so I understand how it works. We have a good system in Canada. Instead of getting a municipal bond, you can actually apply to the province and say, here, I'd like to do this. But the municipalities don't like that, because then the province says, okay, we'll give you this, but you got to do this, this, and this, right? So there's this bit of a political football here on who gets to do what. The problem is that, yes, infrastructure needs to be put in place. Infrastructure, yes, it benefits that project specifically, but it also benefits the public at large. And here we are essentially privately financing infrastructure. That's super inefficient. Infrastructure is a public good. It's more efficiently financed through the province or the feds. I don't know, maybe they should set up some sort of financing that they could access from private investors or something. It definitely, when I worked at Infrastructure Ontario, you could raise a bond, AAA rated globally, in 10 minutes. You could finance all this stuff if the province was doing it, or the feds. Generally speaking, that's how it's been done. Even the City of Toronto, they get the builders to fix the sewers, but they're doing it at prime 3 or prime 2 or prime 1. The province could do it at 2, like prime -2, prime -3. So it's not an efficient use of capital. And you're transferring risk to somebody for a public good. So this builder can go out of business because he's financing sewers, which the municipality needs. Why would builders do this? Well, the reason why builders were doing this is because you own your piece of land or whatever it is, and then you can put 8,000 units here, but you go, well, geez, I guess it's worth it for me to spend $20 million to get this land going, because then I get to build my units and get my money out. Otherwise, I can't do it, so I'm handcuffed. Even though it's not what we want, these crazy housing prices has actually made it make sense for a builder to take that risk. But guess what? You don't have affordable housing anymore. You're basically forcing private sector to finance infrastructure. And some of the infrastructure the builders can't even deal with, because like if you're trying to build a huge water treatment plant that treats a region, it's just going to be way out of scope. That's like $1 billion or something. Like, so that's not going to make any sense for anybody to do. And if that's the case, then nobody gets any water. So without this investment in infrastructure, so I think this article points to the fact that we just have a huge lack of infrastructure investment.